Good evening all, welcome back to West Ham Unofficial. I hope you are all doing well. A very special video tonight. I promised that we'd have some very good interviews coming up, and today I am very delighted to be joined by former West Ham, you can see down there, I've had a bit of time to do stuff today, former West Ham Academy goalkeeper Joe Sealey. Joe, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you, mate?
Yeah, not too bad. Thanks for coming on. So we'll just talk about your time at West Ham. People in the comments, Jake banning for Beats. Yeah, thank you very much. So let's get started then, Joe. We heard the sad news. We'll start off with this. We had the sad news of Glenn Roeder's passing yesterday. What was he like as a coach when you were coached by him?
Yeah, I had Glenn as a coach and then the manager. I really liked Glenn Roeder. He was a really nice man. He had time for you. He'd never go mad at you in a changing room without an explanation of how you could improve. And he was always available if you wanted to do extra training or to stay late or go running with. He was very fit, and he used to have his two boys coming. I remember one was called Joe. I can't remember the other kid's name, but I had nothing bad to say about Glenn Roeder. He was a fantastic guy. And the sad news that came yesterday, out of the blue, really. I've not spoke to Glenn for about 5 or 6 years. I've not bumped into him anywhere. So it was just sad news.
Yeah, definitely. So going back to the start then, so you were a goalkeeper. How did you sign for West Ham?
So my dad played for West Ham, and so did my great uncle. So mum was Alan Sealey, striker, and my dad was Les Sealey. So he was the playing goalkeeper coach when I was 16. And at the time, I was at a few different clubs. I was at Southampton. I was at Sheffield Wednesday. I was looking at different clubs and I was training. I had a few offers. I thought I was going to sign at Charlton. And I was training with my dad after training one day at Chadwell Heath, and we was in the shower, and Jimmy Hampson come in and sort of said about me signing at West Ham. And my dad sort of said, no, I'm here. Like, he's not going to come here. And he said, well, is he any good? And he said, yeah, he is good. And he sort of said, oh, do your effing job and sign him, because my dad was the goalkeeper coach. And I kind of got offered a deal at West Ham with my dad knowing, but not really knowing. I think he thought I was going to sign at Charlton. We were quite far down the road with negotiating my pro contract at Charlton. And I ended up signing at West Ham.
Yeah. And what was that like when you kind of found out that you were going to sign for West Ham?
It was great because it was the closest. There was two clubs that I could live at home and play for. One was Tottenham, and the other one was West Ham. And Tottenham had the other England goalkeeper at the time. He was Martin Brennan, who was a goalkeeper coach, and I was at Fulham. They had him, so I wasn't going to go to Spurs. So when I signed for West Ham, I thought, fantastic. It's 7 miles away. I can roll out of bed every day and go to training and be happy.
Yeah, we've had a few questions come in beforehand, so we're going to go through them first. You good, mate? Are you here? Scott Hanna. He says he's been on my show last week, and he says that you still play a bit of five-a-side football, and he said do you still play goal? Because he said when you play outfield, you say you're like Perlo, you call yourself.
I don't know what he's talking about. He's left-footed. He runs around dribbling with his bad knee. Now, I still play in goal. I play on that game. It's a mix of friends. Actually, Ward plays on it as well. Actually, and Paul Dickoff. There's a few players. Michael Brown, and then just a mix of people that can't play football. It's just a friend thing. But no, I play in goal on it, and I play out on pitch. But I've got to be honest with you, I prefer playing in goal.
Yeah. Ian Fuel, from a West Ham player as well. He was our first ex-West Ham player to come on. He sent a message saying that you're an amazing keeper and a legend. He sends his best wishes.
I mean, Ian I remember playing with Ian in my second year. He come back to West Ham because he was there a few years before, and I met him a couple of times with my dad. But I remember playing head tennis with Ian it then was in the inside gym at Chadwell, but the inside pitches now. And I'd known him I probably played with him then for about 6 months, and we trained every day. And obviously my dad was the coach, and he never knew my dad was my dad. So I remember playing head tennis with him and then talking to him. And I said, oh, he's my dad. And he's like, oh, I didn't even know. And he used to give me a lift home sometimes because I lived in Loughton. and he lived in Waltham Abbey. So we used to get in the car sometimes when before I could drive. I really like Ian. I mean, I spoke to Ian when he was the LA Galaxy goalkeeper coach. God, 8 years ago. I do follow him on Instagram. He's a giant of a man.
Yeah, definitely. I think he said he's something like 7 foot, and for me, I'm quite a small. I'm quite a small child. I'm not quite 5 foot, and just seeing on the camera. Yeah.
Well, you've got plenty of time to grow. You might be 7 foot yet.
No, thank you very much. Some comments that have also come in. Danny Lakers ask, in terms of West Ham this season, doing very well. We're loving it. Do you think that West Ham will finish in the top 4?
I think they've got a good chance at the minute. I think they've got a good chance. He's got them playing really well. And the one thing that my son disagrees with me on this, actually, but the one thing I always think about West Ham or us is we can see too many goals. We leak too many bad goals. And David Moyes has stopped that, I think. We're playing a lot better. It's a lot tighter. We're creating a lot of chances. And if you create chances and you run more than the other team, you've got half a chance. At the minute, I even thought we could beat City at the weekend. I thought we might have been the team that beat them. I think we can beat anybody, and we just got to stay in there. Tottenham and Arsenal are not doing great, thank God. So, you've got a chance. You've got a chance. It'd be unbelievable if they did.
Yeah, well, a couple of stats have come up about we're the top team in London. We're all giving it, and it's just insane, really, that we're up there. I mean, who would have thought at the start of the season, anybody who follows the Premier League, that what are we, about 5 points above Liverpool in the league, and we're sat in 4th, and we gave Man City a real go at the weekend. It's just, it's just how the club was back in September to what we are now. What David Moyes has done there is sensational. Yeah. I mean, it's just...
with David, I think that, and I'd say this to, if you look at clubs like West Ham, Everton, similar club, and if you need to get a manager that can produce and improve that club and keep you up to start with and then get you to where they are now, he's the man. He signs British players. He stops so much of the flair stuff, and he breaks quick. Everyone can run, pass the ball, good crosses, gets in the box, plays Marco Antonio how he should be played, and wins games. And that's what it's about. Yeah.
I mean, his signings as well. We've been known for sloppy signings in the last few years. I mean, the signings that have come in: Soufal, Souček, Bowen, all under Moyes. It's just great signings, really. Lottie Reuter's also put a comment in, not to do with football, but she asked, talk about your appearance on The Real Housewives of Cheshire.
Yeah, I thought that might be about that. Yeah, we've been on for 2 series. We've just started filming again this week. So we're back on for this season. And, it's not so much about me now. That's more about my wife. I always say to people that I kind of get I always feel like the husbands get the better part of the show because, we get the parties, the nice bits, the conversation. We get none of the arguing, none of the nastiness. I kind of always feel like I'm a cheap accessory. I'm like a cheap handbag for her. So I get wheeled out, like when they want someone to say something stupid or do something stupid, and I think I'll do it. I'm not bothered. So I enjoy it, and I think it's fun.
Yeah, definitely. Just about the questions I've got. You played. I've watched all my hammers there. And see Russ. Look, there's a bit of a shout out for you there.
Yeah.
The players in your 11 there. The sensational talent. Putting Di Canio to the side. Who was the best character that you played with at West Ham?
The biggest character. Well, that club was full of them at the time because it was the way it was in East London, I suppose. But we had people, but do you know what? People like Bertie Brayley and Stephen Clark, who never really quite come through at West Ham, were just unbelievable characters. I still speak to them now, and John Moncur. John Moncur was hilarious just to be around every day, and John Hartson even, Ian Bishop. It was, Ian Pearce. The characters there were amazing. But if you had to go out with one of them for a drink, and I don't think he drinks anymore, you go out with John Moncur.
Yeah.
He was hilarious.
Yeah. We said about kind of characters there. Who was the most technically gifted player that you played with whilst you were there?
Joe Cole. Joe Cole technically was unbelievable. When he changed his game, actually, when he got more towards the first team, he couldn't do you don't, you know, he didn't have to flick it and trick it. But also there was a player, didn't play very long for West Ham, called Samati Abu. Don't know if you remember him. The crowd used to shout Abu. He could do some unbelievable things, not so much in games or in training, but you know, keep ups and skills, and he could do some amazing things.
Yeah.
Joe could do it like in a game.
Yeah. I mean, the players that you had there, I mean, Rio Ferdinand, Joe Cole, Di Canio. We'll come on to Di Canio now. I mean, what a kind of character. What was he like to be around? Because we've had Ian's kind of version of. We've had. yeah. We've had Ian Fiore's version of him. Oh, what was your version of Di Canio behind the scenes?
He was eccentric, mental, probably a genius. I've never seen a man with such less hair. He shaved every single part of his body. And like back then, people didn't really do that. And he wore some terrible gear. I mean, his clothes were horrendous, in my opinion. He'd have like a striped shirt with a pink check trousers and stuff. I mean, what I liked about Paolo was, I remember once, like when we first signed first year, we were in the gym doing weights, and he would stop and talk to you. And he was talking about like how he come through, and I think it was Napoli, and they had Maradona and all these players, and he was all coming through at the same time at the club, and he had to like fight to get through, and he kept himself in unbelievable shape, like training wise, his food, his mentality. He brought in his own fitness coach, and it's not a surprise he scored the goals he scored. I mean, you'd see it every day in training. He would work on that and his athleticism and his technical ability, and I think those players that are like Mavericks in a way are kind of off the wall away from it as well. You know, they don't take part in the group so much because they're so special. And he was at the time, I think he was for West Ham at the time. I don't really think we ever had a player like that, as far as I can remember, because we was always struggling to stay up or up and down. And then he comes in and it's like, we're in Europe.
Yeah, I mean, what a character. I mean, I wasn't alive to see him, but just watching videos of him. And I mean, what was the feeling when that magical goal went in against Wimbledon? I mean, knowing it, you seeing it on the training ground, what was it like seeing it actually happen in the game?
Where we used to sit was in the West Ham corner, near the corner flags. So I was on the side of the pitch where he scored the goal, like literally level with him. And I remember Trevor hitting the ball, and I thought, that's a ball. But the way he's hit it, like, I mean, mid-air, scissor kicked it outside the foot, far corner. It was Wimbledon, wasn't it? Sullivan was in goal. He was nowhere near it. It was like nobody made obviously everyone went mental, but I think for a second the ground went quiet because it was you've never seen a goal like it. I don't think we've seen one since. And that's what he had in his locker,
Yeah.
It was that day. I mean, you see that goal every week on Sky. What year was that? 2000 or 99 or something?
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and like you think that's 21 years ago, and it's on telly every week, and that shows you how special that goal is.
Yeah. In terms of your time in the academy, West Ham, how long did you spend with us?
I was probably with West Ham on and off for 7 years, really, because I was in all the time because of my dad, but actually full-time playing, I was there 4 years before I got injured. So yeah, I was there 4 years full-time.
Yeah. I mean, you were a keeper. I mean, the keepers you had there at the time, what was it like watching Shaka Hislop and learning from him, like as a fellow keeper? What was he like?
I loved Shaka. I absolutely loved him. We had a great mix. I mean, for the first couple of years especially, we had a great mix of not what you'd call nice people, good goalkeepers that worked together. We all trained together every day. There was Shaka Hislop, Craig Forrest, Stephen Bywater, me, Billy McMahon, Lee was there. There was Alex O'Reilly, Lee Richards, sorry. Alex O'Reilly was there, leaving. Used to have an old one that got released, Jerome, who was the goalkeeper coach now at West Ham. He used to come in and train. And my dad. And every day we worked together. There was no hostility. We played silly games. If you lost in the shoot and you had to sing a song or dive in a puddle, every day was fun.
Yeah, I'm just listening to that there. I mean, sounds like a good community there. Kind of the characters there, and just what you did sounded so good.
It was, and I think it was full of big characters. You know, Shaka was international, Cray was international. I played international football. Stephen Bywater was probably the best young goalkeeper I've ever seen. And it was just a nice mix of people. There was no hostility. And then we get things like, we got Bernard Lamar in on loan, French. He won the World Cup with France, and a few other a guy from Palace come in. We'd have other goalies coming in over time, and eventually, later on David James come in, and it kind of changed a little bit. But that's the way football is.
Yeah, and just for the people in the live chat, we're going to do just do a bit of a Q&A at the end. But I'm just got a bit of a story now that my dad told me about your dad. It was a game at Upton Park, and the bench needed to get a message to Ludo McCosco. And they sent your dad out to warm up, and the whole Bobby Moore stand could hear your dad shouting Ludo, Ludo. Ludo didn't hear him, so your dad sent a ball boy round the goal to get Ludo's attention to your dad, and the ball boy potted your dad, and it had the biggest cheer from the Bobby Moore stand. It's just a funny story, isn't it?
Yeah, do you know what? I never knew that. I never knew that story. I do remember being up to Park. Ludo was in goal, and I remember my dad running around the back of the goal and doing something, and I forgot about that until you just brought it up. I mean, there's another great man. Ludo McCloskey was a great guy as well. I mean, he ended up being the coach after my dad when I was there. But I knew Ludo growing up. Lovely man. I don't think there's a nicer man than Ludo. In fact, Stephen Bywater called his son Ludo after him.
Yeah. I mean, with the West Ham fan base, I think is probably one of the biggest characters and biggest, best goalkeepers that we've had. Just because we've got the song about him, and he's just completely loved by the fan base.
Yeah, he was amazing, and I don't know if you know that, but when he left to go to Crystal Palace at QPR, he paid his own transfer fee to leave because West Ham weren't going to let him leave, and he weren't playing. And I think he paid the club $50,000 to leave. Now, there's not many players or goalkeepers that will, at the end of their career, especially spend their own money to carry on playing. When you're under contract. He was just a remarkable man. I saw Ludo actually at Liverpool's training ground 3 years ago. But he's been unwell. He had a heart attack. I don't know if you knew that, about 10, 15 years ago. So he stopped coaching, and he's looking after players now from the Czech Republic.
Yeah, that's interesting. So just to touch on your dad. What was it like following in your dad's footsteps as a goalkeeper?
Yeah, I mean, it was great. I mean, what it was. I'd say it was two-sided actually. So it was great because I had great advice. I could be trained all the time if I wanted to be. My dad never forced me to play football or push me in any direction. But what he sort of said to me is, if you want to do this, do it properly, or just play with your friends. But if you want to do it properly and work hard, and I'll help you. So I'd have training. I trained more than anyone else probably, and I had that guidance at home. But at the same time, there's pressure, and especially when you're young. And I think looking back now, I wouldn't. If it was now, I wouldn't. I'm older. I kind of know who I am. It wouldn't frighten me. But then I kind of had people had an expectation of me because of my dad. And if I made a mistake, it'd be, it's Leslie's son. Do you know what I mean? Instead of, he's made a mistake because he's 15 years old and he's made a mistake. People always had probably an extra eye on me because of my dad. But it's like anyone. It's like your dad. He was my dad. I don't know what your dad does for a living, but my dad's living was we ate because my dad played football. That was his job, and that's how we kind of got brought up. I know, looking back now, I never realised it at the time. It was an unusual existence, really, or childhood, but I never realised it. I do now. But the things I got to do and see, and people I was around, especially when I was at Man United, it was unbelievable experiences.
Yeah, and for the people who haven't watched your My Hammers 11, just tell a story about your dad wouldn't take you to training, would he?
No, so when I signed at 16 for West Ham, Loughton is, I think, 8 miles or 7.8 miles from Chadwell training ground, but he wouldn't give me a lift because he said, you've got to make your own way in life. So I used to have to get 2 buses and 2 trains. It used to take me an hour and a half. So I used to have to go to Loughton Station to Stratford to Chadwell to the training ground, which is about a mile walk or a bus. And I did that because my birthday's in March, so I couldn't drive for a whole season. I did that for a whole year. And sometimes I'd be like, Ian Fiore would give me a lift or whatever, or someone would give me a lift. Or I'd be walking out and my dad would beep and wave at me. And I'd ring my mum and she'd come and get me and they'd be driving past each other. But I used to think, like, bastard. But Sorry about my language, but if now when I look back, I think you've done the right thing, because actually life ain't easy in anything you do, and you need to work extremely hard and be dedicated. I just wish I had a few more hours sleep when I was 16, because I was getting up at 6:30 and getting on buses and trains, and if you give me a lift, I would have got up at 9. But I think it was a good life lesson, and my dad was like that. My dad was very loving, caring, but he was hard as well, and I'm pleased about that now. I'm like it with my kids, and it's about teaching them lessons, really, I think, and that's what he was doing for me. But yeah, he used to drive past me and beep and wave and go on.
Did you always plan to was it always your dream to become a footballer? And when it kind of did come true, what was that like? Being a 16-year-old, going to West Ham and all of that stuff. What was that like?
I mean, yeah, it's the only thing I ever wanted to do, and I didn't think about anything else. So I have to say that I was very disciplined, and that I was driven towards that goal. It was the only thing I cared about for a long time. Even after I finished playing, I couldn't get to grips with it. But it wasn't. I think when you're good at something, you know even when you're young. And I knew at 13, 14, I was probably going to play professional football, because of what I was playing for the county. I was people looking at me, I had clubs ringing up, and I was playing in different academy teams because you could then, and I was doing well, and I was getting offers, and I was quite a confident player. So if anyone remembers my dad playing, screaming and shouting, I was a bit like that. So I was forceful and dynamic in that way, and not so much about shot saving. It was more about controlling the box for me. And it was great leaving school and playing football full time. I always expected it, but it was fantastic when it happened, because I hated school. And I always say it to my kids, I say it to anyone. It's the only thing I regret it, because it's the only thing in my life, even in business or whatever, I didn't try my hardest at. I always try my hardest no matter what I do, and especially at football. But at school, I had to go. I had to be there, and I didn't try. And I regret that, because it's the only thing in my life I didn't try it. And then when I got to 15, the school kind of agreed that I only had to go to school 3.5 days a week. I could go and train at West Ham Thursday afternoons and Friday mornings. So I stopped going to school so much, and I probably shouldn't have done that. But at the time, my focus was the more I'm there, I'm 15 and I'm training with the academy or the first team, I'm improving, and I don't want to know about science or algebra. I just want to know that I can save the football. But it's probably a mistake on my part.
Yeah, well, yeah, definitely. Obviously, at the time, it would have thought, that's way more important. Professional footballer. Wow, what's going on? And then I've got to go and listen to whoever talking about science. So just tell the people watching why you had to retire.
So when I was within the first 2 weeks of my first year at West Ham, I dislocated my shoulder in training, and I had it put back in, and I was out for a couple of months. And I come back and I was fine, and I was training again. And I was about to play in the reserves against Arsenal the day before it went again. And then when it went again, they said, "Look, you've got to have an operation." And I'm cut all the way around my shoulder. So I had a reconstruction, and I missed the whole season. I didn't play a game in the first year I was there. I was injured all year. So I was out for 12 months with it. And they kind of said to me, "Look, if it happens again, you're finished. You're going to end up paralysing your arm, or you can't keep missing a year." I had my body, my hand, my arm, in a bodysuit for 6 months. And when they took it off, I couldn't move my arm, and they had to get that back. And it took a year. And I was okay for a couple of years. And then one day in training, I dived at Defoe's feet, and I should have held the ball. It was an easy one. And I dropped it. And as I got up, I just got up and put my hand on top of the ball, and my shoulder went pop. And I thought, I'm done.
Yeah.
It weren't great.
Yeah. What was that feeling like for you? Because that must have been dreams just shattering just there.
Yeah, it was devastating. But I think what happened to me after was it sort of took it away. So my dad died about 10 days, 2 weeks after that injury. So I lost my career, and then my dad died. And I think that kind of stopped me thinking about football so much, actually, because I kind of thought I actually feel more upset about my dad dying than I do about football. And that was probably the first time that had happened to me that I cared about something more. And so it was a bit of a funny time for me.
Yeah. What's what's life like after football for you now?
Like for me now, I've got a lovely life now. We've got different businesses, and I've always worked in. As I've had sports agencies that we've sold. I'm back involved in sport. I've just done a couple of transfers for the first time in 5 years recently, and we do construction and stocks and shares and all different things. And me and my wife work together. And what I would say is I've got a nice life now. But when I first left football, I found it extremely difficult to cope with life. And I mean, it's quite strange because when you play, you don't realise it, but everything's done for you. Like get in at 9, have some breakfast, train, here's your lunch, train or whatever, or go home, got me back here, here's some trainers, here's your boots, here's your tracksuit, here's your kit, Eddie or span or wash it. Oh, what you got toothache, go and see the dentist. Everything's there for you at the training ground. And then when you're not in that, and it's kind of how it is really in life, you just dropped. Like that club now, you're not under contract. They don't have to look after you no more. Football moves on very quickly. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I don't blame the club or any club. That's how it is. It's the industry. And I had to realise at 19, 20 years old that I didn't have a doctor and I didn't know how to book an appointment and I'd never bought a pair of trainers and, normal stuff that people do, car insurance or whatever, I had to now learn to do because there was always someone there to do it for me. And then working, I never worked 9 to 5 or 8 to 4 or whatever. And having to do that, I found that extremely difficult because I was used to, in effect, training a few hours a day and then going home and having a lot of free time and being very disciplined until, suddenly I'm in the big wide world and I don't know what I want to do. And everything I ever wanted to do is gone. And it was very difficult for me. Now I love what I do. I love doing it. And any type of deal, we've got a new product launching in supermarkets, hopefully in the next couple of months. I can't talk about that in a minute, but that's new. And I'm involved in lots of different things now, but it took me a long time to get to that point.
Yeah. I'd just like to say before we move on, I did a video earlier, and I got this present come through. Let me just put this in full screen. So a huge thank you to the guys over there. Links in the description down below. They made this for me, the Bubbles song, and then at the bottom it says founded 1895, World Cup winners, Upton Park 1904-2016. Thank you very much to the guys over there. That's really fantastic. Wooden West Ham plaque. Their link is in this. Their link is in. Their link is in the description down below. So go and check that out. So just before we move on to questions, Joe. For the last week I followed you on Instagram. And you've got like your cooking and all that stuff. But I saw your video this morning. Regarding the regarding the DT38 campaign. Just tell people about that. And what effect has your wife had on your life?
I've got the T-shirt. DT38. I mean, Dylan Tombinis. I don't know if anyone remembers him. He played for West Ham. He actually got on the bench when he was in his first year scholar, and he ended up getting testicular cancer. Eventually, after many, it kept coming back. He unfortunately passed away, and I was Dylan's agent, and to start with, and actually, I've become. I would say that he's family to me, and he was a special. I would say, not forget football because he probably was the best young player I've ever seen, or one of them. But he was a special guy. He had a great personality, and I loved him. And when he died, his mum, we spoke and set up DT38, and what it is to bring awareness to testicular cancer, and make sure that you check yourself because he was 16, 17 when he got that. And then eventually died a few years later. And you can get it at any point, any time. And it's the kind of thing that that video I did earlier was a bit of a laughy one because people kind of pay attention, I think, a little bit more to humour than the seriousness. But this kills thousands of people a year, and just by checking, you can save your life. And that's what I'm doing now. We're trying to spread the message, raise awareness, raise some money. I'm going to be running a 10K with his brother soon, so there'll be a link on my Instagram today or tomorrow from a GoFundMe page for the charity. So we carry his memory, and it's an important thing. My wife's a trustee as well, so we're both involved.
Yeah. Guys, I see you're putting your comments and your questions in the chat. But before we do get in that, we're going to take a quick break. Please see the video here on Canning Town Land. Check him out using the link in the description down below. And me and Joe will be back very, very shortly. Canning Town Len is your best place to buy custom portraits that you can buy on the internet. Canning Town Len does animated portraits like this one he did for me up here. They're absolutely fantastic and I couldn't recommend them enough. So just some ones that he did for me. I've got this one here outside the London Stadium. I mean, it looks just like me, really, the best possible kind of animated portrait, kind of animated cartoon kind of picture I could hope for, really. They're absolutely amazing and they are so realistic, look exactly like me, and they are very good to buy. So make sure you do click the link in the description down below to buy a portrait from Canning Town Len. I'd highly recommend them. Click the link in the description down below. He does animated portraits, non-West Ham related, West Ham related, lots of different backgrounds, any shirt, any background. You can basically customize it to your absolute kind of needs and what you exactly want. So click the link in the description down below to check out Canning Town Len. Come on, your irons.
That was good.
Okay then.
I want one. How can I get one?
Click the link in the description. So let's take some comments. Let's say hi to some people first. Peach, good evening, mate. Good day, Jake. Hi, James. Right, let's get some questions in. Forever Blowing Bubble says, hi. What is Joe's thoughts on Rush Green compared to other teams' training grounds?
I think, well, Rush Green's an improvement on what it is. I haven't been there in the last. I drove past it actually a couple of days ago, but I haven't been there for about 10 months. I played in a game there against Coventry City for like a West Ham's reunion game for the Youth Cup final last year. And it's an improvement, but I mean, compared to, it's typical West Ham, what I'd say is like, you know, you go to somewhere else and it's state of the art. It's not quite state of the art, but the pitches are better. And it is what West Ham is. It's a Portakabin training ground. And, you know, I think that adds to what West Ham are. You know, it's kind of like the People's Club of London is what I'd say. We don't need, well, it'd be nice to have swimming pools and all that, I suppose. But, you know, they're improving slowly but surely, I think, and doing the right things. And the academy have moved to Chabberleaf in the new building there, which DT38 got a Dylan Tombidi's room, and we opened it when he opened. So I think they're doing the right things, but the training ground, you know, for me, if you want to be Champions League, and sign those players needs to improve.
Yeah, definitely. James says, question for Joe. West Ham this season, why do you think we've clicked so well?
Could be a couple. I think there's a couple of reasons, maybe. I might be wrong. One, I think he's signed the right players he's got rid of the, what you'd say, the foreign players, the Andersons and all of that. I weren't too keen on. You know, when he came, I thought he was a big player, but some players like Boleyn that run, work hard, British type of style players and tougher players. And I think that works well with West Ham because we need to keep the ball and break and not concede. The other thing could be, I love West Ham fans, but they get on your back. And if they're not playing well in that stadium, you can hear it. And I don't think the stadium helps when there's people in it because how far they are away from the ground. I think Upton Park had something special about it. I mean, you could touch people, really, you could hear everything. And I think we lost that at the Olympic Stadium, but obviously we needed that because of the financial benefits. And I think fans not being at grounds has levelled the playing field in the Premier League. So where sometimes you'd have a home advantage, you've not got that no more. And you're seeing, you know, the levels because some players, and I don't know who at West Ham or not because I don't, you know, I'm not in that changing room, bottle it sometimes away from home, you know, or Stoke on a Tuesday night. They won't fancy that or whatever. But now where there's no crowd, there's none of that negativity around the players. It could be that. But ultimately, I think David Moyes has got a plan and the team function well and do their jobs well. And if you do your job well, you got half a chance. And if you don't concede or you keep clean sheets or you let minimum goals in, you've got a chance. You can't lose if you don't concede.
Yeah, definitely. Ted says, I'm just a word about your dad, Joe. Holds a special place in Manchester United fans' hearts for his character / charisma and winning the FA Cup final in 1990 and ECWC versus Barcelona in 1991. Great chap, never forgotten.
Yeah, that's really nice. Yeah, he had a good career at United. He won quite a few medals, and we actually, well, somebody gave me. I didn't realise in '94 my dad wrote an autobiography that we didn't know about. And 5 years ago, I'm watching my son play football, and somebody come up to me and said, "I've got your dad's book in my loft." So my dad never wrote a book, and he gave it to me, and he'd wrote it with him, and it'll be published this year. So it's going to come out in August. So keep an eye out. You'll be able to buy his autobiography that was written in 1994. That was in the loft.
Oh, that's quality. That is. Who's your favourite player you've ever seen?
Ever, Peter Schmeichel. But I'm a goalie, and I do like goalkeepers. I think Peter Schmeichel was just a phenomenon. Outfield players, I know everyone done a good, but Cristiano Ronaldo is special for me. I just think he's great.
Yeah, definitely. Baker, hello mate. Joe, respect your dad from all Manchester United supporters. Sealey, our loud chant for him.
Yeah, I mean, I get a lot of love from Man United fans, and he had a good time there. He was there for 5 years, but he had a gap in between. We went to Villa for 18 months when Schmeichel came, and he went back there. And I live in Cheshire now, near the club, and it's a giant club, and it's great, and it's great. It's part of their history because it's great for me to remember my dad, and also because he was in them games, I kind of see him on the telly quite a lot.
Yeah,
it's really nice. They're a great club.
Yeah. Phil says, Joe, apart from your dad, who was your goalkeeping idol growing up in world football?
Yeah, it was Peter Schmeichel. I mean, I looked up to Peter Schmeichel, watched him, and just thought he's incredible. But Peter Shilton was another one. David Seaman. Joe was a good goalie. Jones, who played for Southampton, made some great saves. I remember him making a save against Sheringham when he dived back into his net and flicked it out and stuff like that. And Xhaka. Working with Xhaka was amazing. I like working with Xhaka. And then you can go back and you say there's goals like Yashin, who always wore black kit, and goals like that through history, Gordon Banks, that you just think, phenomenal.
Yeah. James says, best away ground, worst away ground.
The best away ground to play at? The one nearest home. The one you win at. The worst one, we used to play at the baseball ground, which is Derby County's old stadium. It used to have a running track around it. And that was a terrible ground. The changing rooms were terrible. Horrible. Oldham Athletic. I never liked playing at Oldham. People might not remember. I played in the Youth Cup 2 years after we won it, and I had the worst game of my life in that game. We got knocked out because of me. I got nutmegged from 30 yards. I missed a cross, and they headed it in. And then James Allen gave a penalty away, handballed it, and got sent off in the first half. And I hated playing there because I never played well there. That was it. The best away ground. I mean, when you turn up and you first get involved at Old Trafford or the big stadiums, that's just an unbelievable experience.
Definitely. Best player you've seen play for West Ham?
While he's playing at West Ham or after?
I
think Di Canio in my time. If you're going to say after, I always thought Michael Carrick was exceptional. Always. Yeah. Lampard, players like that. But at the club. And Trevor Sinclair was really good as well.
Yeah. James says, Dylan was a great talent, such a loss. Yeah, definitely.
Dylan, I think, probably was going to end up at Barcelona or Man United or Liverpool. He was that good.
Yeah. James says, like myself, you get irritated by TV and radio pundits, some of them former players who criticise keepers, and they clearly know zilch about goalkeeping.
Yeah, well, I couldn't agree with you more. And I was listening to one the other day, I can't remember, and I thought he couldn't. It was the goal that Fernandinho scored against the Haya on the volley, and it went in the bottom corner, and I thought, he can't. He got no chance. And it was Genis, and I thought, shut up. And my dad used to say it to me, like, when players say something, she'd say, what do you know? You don't know about playing in goal. It's completely different to playing out on pitch. But, they're paid for their opinions. But it would be nice if there was more goalies, I think, involved in the commentary. They do in other countries. Craig Forrest does it in Canada. But you don't seem ever to get goalkeepers' opinions on goalkeeping. And that would be, I think, a vast improvement. And also, it'd be interesting to listen to. You know, after a game, even if you bring on, if someone's made a mistake or a great save, to explain what was wrong. Was his feet wrong? Was his angles wrong? How did he do that? You know, why did the Chelsea goalie punch it out yesterday? You know, stuff like that for the handball that weren't given against United. It would be interesting, yeah, but I don't think players should comment on it. And I didn't like it when managers told me about goalkeeping either, and they weren't
Yeah.
goal.
Yeah, because it's interesting because people said that Randolph should have saved the one against Man City, but it's nice to hear. Personally, I think it was a class header from Diaz, but I think just to hear a goalkeeper's an ex-goalkeeper's perspective, because that's quite a interesting point, because you don't see any ex-goalkeeper pundits. It's just an outfield player commenting on it, just as we can comment on it sat our sofa at home.
Yeah, and I think you're right. I don't think there's anything wrong with those goals. You know, maybe sometimes someone saves it and it's an unbelievable save. But sometimes you think, people think, that was a great goal, he shouldn't have saved it. And then I watch it and think, well, yeah, he could have, because maybe it was in the top corner. And if you go with your opposite arm, so it crossed you, that's higher than your near arm. And maybe he went with his wrong hand, or his angle was wrong, but people don't see it, you know. Or, you know, it's gone through someone's leg and flown in the corner, and they go, how did he not save that? Well, it's because he can't see it. Do you know what I mean? He's not there. It would just give a different opinion on it.
Yeah, definitely. Phil says, I remember I was at Dylan's only first team appearance against Wigan in the Cup, and it was nice when his brother scored at Noah's testimonial. That was really nice. I was at his testimonial. That was
Taylor.
Yeah.
Taylor was 25 last week.
Oh, was he?
Yeah. I didn't go round there, but I sat outside of his house. I spoke to him actually when I was in London this week, and Tracy's mum, and he had a nice birthday.
Yeah. Brilliant interview. Thank you very much, Amy. Phil says, who should be England's first choice goalkeeper for the Euros? There's lots of debates on this with Pickford. What's your thoughts on him?
For me, it wouldn't be Pickford at the moment. And do you know what? It's funny. I've been thinking about. This come into my head this week. I think I play Pope.
Yeah, he's class.
I think I play Pope. He's played a lot of games. That team are not great, and he makes some of his saves. He's a bit not underrated, but because he's at Burnley, he doesn't get the adulation he should get. I mean, if he was at West Ham or Man United or Man City, you'd have clips and clips of him, because he comes for crosses, he makes unbelievable saves, he's good with his feet. But the other one is Henderson at United, but he's not played enough games, and I'm a believer that if they're not playing, don't take them, because why? Do you know what I mean? If he's only played 5 games all season, you can't take him. Pickford, for me, and I'm a fan of Pickford, but he's making too many mistakes, and he has done for too long. But then you've got Ramage as well at Sheffield United. He's had a bit of a tough season and a tough team. And, you know, we've got really good quality goalkeepers going in England, and that's a great thing.
Yeah. I mean, because they don't. Some of these keepers from not the big 6 clubs, that they don't get the recognition, but they should get more recognition, because they haven't got the world class back line in front of them, have they?
I completely agree. And if you look at the shots to ratio, I mean, even if you look at Fabianski, I think last season he was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Like, I think since he's been there, I've got to be honest, when he was at Arsenal, I used to think average. I used to watch him and think average, makes mistakes, but it's probably because he wasn't playing every week. As soon as he started to play every week, I think he's been West Ham's best player. When he's been fit, he's injured. And Randolph as well. You know, when he left Randolph, when he left the first time, I thought, why is he going? I thought he was doing well when he went to Middlesbrough. I was glad when he came back. Yeah,
definitely. Isabel asked, what was Joe's hardest save in your career? That's our question.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, any save you catch is a good save. As long as it don't hit the back of the net, I'm happy. I don't remember too many. I remember a couple of one-on-ones where I got like kicked in the face and got the ball. As long as I was sort of told, as long as that ball don't hit that net, you do whatever you have to do to save that ball, whether it's, you throw your life on it, throw your face, whatever it is to stop it. And I love that feeling of, I get so much, even when I play now, you make a save, like a good one, and it's a good save, and people can't, like that I love that feeling. Yeah.
Phil says, what was it like training with Roeder?
That was fun. I mean, that year we had when he came as well. We had that team had some characters. I mean, training was never boring. he used to train in a bin bag. He used to come in, get a bin bag off Shirley, who was the canteen lady, put a bin bag on, a t-shirt and a wet cup, and sweat, and then go and have like an Indian or a McDonald's or like whatever. And I used to think that's not helping, but he trained every day. Do you know what? Razor had great feet. Like, he was a good ball player, Razor, with his left foot. He could play, but he was overweight, and I think he'd done a good job for West Ham. And I would have kept him when he went to Palace. He went to Palace after, didn't he? I would have kept him because he was amazing around the training ground. And sometimes you need people that, and maybe not playing all the time, but their personality. You need that in the changing room. Do you know what I mean? And I loved Razor. And I don't know if you've had Razor on, but when you watch Razor do interviews, he's funny now.
It's funny because he did a My Hammers 11 with Russ. Don't know whether you've seen it. Russ had to go and get his dishwasher fixed. Oh my god, that clip's Russ's pinned tweet on his Twitter, and oh my god, because Razor said keep this in when he left, and that was the funniest 2 minutes I've ever seen.
That made me laugh. That did make me laugh. I mean, Russ does that really well. I've become quite like chatty with Russ now on Instagram and stuff, and we talk, and he's asked me to get him a couple of players. I keep saying and then I keep forgetting. So when I get off here, I am going to message him for him. But no, I think all of this stuff now and the way the world's going, this is how it's going. YouTube, interviews, podcasts. That's where people are getting their entertainment now, because it's on the move, and you can listen to this in the car if you want, or you haven't got to visualize it. You can play it, record it, download it, and it's I certainly listen to a lot of podcasts and YouTube interviews more than TV.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I did spend one of my days in half-term literally going through. I've got to admit, Russ is probably watching this. I went down his whole ex-Hammers playlist and got in contact with most of them, and I've had a couple come back, including you. So thank you very much.
Just keep being persistent, and people come back.
Right. So last few questions. Then does your boy play in goal?
No, he's useless in goal. Useless. He's taken after his mum. He's completely different to the rest of us. He's not small now, actually. He's nearly 6 foot, but he's quite wiry and he's fast, and he's a good runner, and he's an attacking player. He's left wing, right wing, number 10 type player. Completely different to the rest of us. I was a terrible runner. I was like the worst runner at the football club, and he's one of the best. So no, and he's not very brave. So he's never been. Do you know what? He's never played in goal. He's always been out.
Yeah. Forever ask, who would you want to replace Fabianski in goal in the future? Well, it's come out this week with the rumours that have come out with 40 million for Henderson. But who do you think, from a goalkeeper's perspective, would be good for West Ham after the 3 fantastic years that we've had with Fabianski? Because I think his contract's coming to the end at the end of the season.
Is he not renewing it? No, probably not. He's probably not, is he?
No.
He's going to Italy, isn't he? He's going to take some money. I mean, if you get Henderson, I don't think you'll get him, but that would be amazing. And I think if you don't get him, I can't believe no one's taken Butland from Stoke in the Championship. I mean, he was the England goalkeeper when they went down, and I've watched him play. I like Butland. But what I think is key is that you build for the future, and like what you've done with him, like you've taken someone late 20s, early 30s, and improved him and given him a chance. And the thing with goalkeepers is now, they're like the new strikers, that everyone's 50 million, 40 million, and like it was. And you've got to be really careful that you don't end up like Chelsea did. Do you know what I mean? With 87 million for him. And, not that he's a bad goalie, but English football, as soon as he came to Chelsea, I looked at him and thought, big enough.
Yeah.
Physically presence enough. And, it's a physical league. But ideally, somebody that's played in England, I think Butland would be ideal. Safe pair of hands. Maybe Randolph gets a chance, and you get a younger goalie to be second choice. And look at that.
See, I think, you said the prices of keepers have gone up, but we've seen from Moyes in the last transfer window, we all thought we desperately needed a striker, and he didn't buy one. And the kind of the signings that he's made, when he spent some sort of decent amount of money, the quality he's brought in, we paid less than £20 million for Thomas Souček, and in my eyes, he's the best goal scoring central midfielder in the league. And Sue fell for £5 million. I mean,
unbelievable.
He's he really is class, and I think he won't waste his money. I think he will have to splash out because we do need a goalie. We need a couple of central midfielders and a striker in the summer, especially if we're going for Champions League. We're all saying Champions League.
I think with David, I think with the gaffer, I think that he has something in mind and he doesn't go past it. So when he went for the Burnley centre back to Wowski, I can't say his name, and he had put a price in and they wanted 35, and he said no.
Yeah,
and that's where he's good because what he's done is he's strong, as in he won't go past what he believes what someone's worth. Because some clubs, you watch some transfers and you think, how has he gone for that money? Like, ridiculous amounts of money, and you think they're not going to get that value. But David doesn't, and it's a little bit like what Leicester did. You go and buy these players for £5 million. What's he worth now? I mean, 25, 30 million. And you've got that revenue. Bowen from Hull. The boy from Brentford,
the farmer from Brentford, he spent the whole of the summer farming.
Unbelievable. I mean, it's just, that's what he's about though. So when you go into meetings with David Moyes, he has a scouting meeting. They have big chalkboards everywhere. And they sort of have like 3 players' names in every position that they're looking at that they'll take 1, 2 or 3 of at all times. And if one becomes unavailable, they get rid of that and they bring someone else in. He's brilliant at finding players. But again, he sticks to what he believes, sticks to his price, he sticks to his system. He doesn't try and change it to fit somebody in. He doesn't go and buy a Maverick. He builds. And I like that about him. And that's what I think.
Definitely. And you mentioned Tarkowski there, 40 million, 35 million. And we go and get Craig Dawson, who's been relegated from Watford on loan. And what he's come to, and in my opinion, you say the ridiculous amount of money that Man United play for players. In my opinion, I think that Craig Dawson's better than Harry Maguire. And how much did they pay for Harry Maguire? £80 million. And we're going to get Craig Dawson for about £3 million. I think they're on the same wavelength.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know about that, but I think the problem. I'll be honest. If you look at United, I think the problem is who you play with Maguire. I think is as a group they're not strong enough. But I think the club needs improving. But I think the players that he's brought in, like Dawson, who you've got a loan from Watford, when he signed, I thought that's a funny one. He's been unbelievable. He's played every game. He never gets injured. And he's got experience. And I just think that the team he's building is getting stronger every time he signs somebody. Eventually, he'll sign somebody like a Fellaini or someone that he can bring in and play from somewhere because he likes that type of model. He gets the ball in the box. That's why Antonio, for me, is the key to that team. For me, I think he's top class. I really do. I watch him and I think he can play right back, left back, centre back, midfield, right wing, left wing, up front, and he does a good job. That
is Mikel Antonio.
Yeah, he's amazing, and he lives in Cheshire. He actually lives in Algley Edge, and I think he travels down on a Sunday and lives somewhere down there when he's training. His wife lives here, so he does a lot of work for that club. And I was thinking the other day, how much is? I was thinking because he's not playing for England no more, is he? He's gone to Jamaica.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, and I kind of thought that was a mistake because he gives you such in like a World Cup or a European Championships with a squad. You put him in the squad, even if he's the 23rd man, he can come on in like 5 positions, and he scores, and he's physical, and I think I don't know what he's worth, but I would say he's the right side of 50 million maybe for him because he's so versatile.
Yeah. This is an interesting question. If you was picking a 5-a-side team, who would make your team? Wow.
Scott Hannah. He would have. What's that? I play Rio, Michael Carrick, Joe Cole, Jermaine Defoe.
There you go. Yeah. I'll tell you what, there's some quality in there. Gatesy, good evening, mate. Hi, Jake. Question for Joe. Who do you think will be better fit for West Ham? Aaron Ramsdale or Carl Darlow? Also, your dad was a great keeper and character sadly missed.
I think Ramsdale is. I think that, but do you know what? Darlow's good as well, but Ramsdale for me is really good. If you look at if you watch Sheffield United, they're not having a good time.
No.
And he's making. Did you watch the game yesterday? I watched the first half. He made unbelievable saves for Sheffield United. I mean, I was watching it thinking he's doing unbelievable. He got away with one when he ran out of the box. And I think like the striker bowled it, because if I was a striker, I would have levered him there and like hit him with the bowl. But he got away with that. But he made some unbelievable saves. And if you get him in the right team at his age, you've got a goalie for 15 years. And the problem might be is what he might cost. But I would spend my money on him. I mean, I would. He was good at Bournemouth. He's under 23 years old. I think he is. And he hasn't had a bad season at Sheffield. Sheffield have not got a good team in front of him.
No, definitely.
Yeah, and definitely, I'd look at him. I'd definitely be looking at him.
Yeah. Hammers Poles, good evening, mate. Isabel says, what age did Joe seriously start playing football?
Probably 12. I mean, I played from 7, 8 years old, but it was a bit different then. There weren't academies like there are now from like 6 years old. It sort of started at 14, 12, 14 when I was playing. So it got more serious around that time.
Yeah. Kieran says Ramsey had a blinder yesterday. What's this? Who is the boss in your house?
My wife. No, we're quite even. We're both quite easygoing, actually. We're quite happy indoors watching telly. That's what we do most of the time. I know on that show it looks like everything's there, but we're quite happy indoors by ourselves watching a film with the kids or whatever. We're kind of, me and her are best friends. I probably spend 97% of my time with her. I always have done. We get along really well, but we're both in charge. But I used to argue, and I learned many years ago that I'm happier if she's happy, and I can just think. I think in my head things about her, but I don't say them. So if I disagree, I think it and I go, yes, darling, whatever you want, darling.
Yeah. Guys in the live chat, get your final comments in because we're going to wrap it up very, very shortly. Butland is second choice at Palace now. I didn't know that.
Oh, is he? I didn't realise. He did go with 15 million, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd play Butland.
Yeah. We've got a thing on this channel about Craig Dawson likes to join us. Is Craig on tonight? I think he's just lurking in the background. Is he coming on? Oh yeah, he's just put his thumbs up. There he is. He's coming on. There is big Craig Dawson. That's. Oh, well, you've really had the West Ham unofficial experience now because we love bringing Craig Dawson up at any. Kieran says goalkeepers can't cook. Is that true?
Have you watched? I'm an unbelievable cook. Tonight, I'm going to cook a lamb rogan Josh from start. You can watch it on my Instagram. Wow. I love cooking. It's after football. It's my next favourite thing. Do you know what? I just think it's relaxing. She thinks I'm really messy. I am, but I just think it's like I could put a podcast on, a football podcast, listen to you.
Thank you very much.
Look something at the same time. It's different class.
Yeah. Go follow Joe on Instagram because you'll see that experience there. Baker says Scott Hannah will be loving this shout out from Joe.
I know he will. He sent me a message yesterday saying I was on that and he sent me the clip. He's a good laugh, Scott.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That was interesting because we had the Liverpool Everton debate and the Liverpool fan was a bit outnumbered there.
Everton again though this season. Been brilliant.
They have. There you go, big Craig Dawson.
Do you do that Craig Dawson thing every week?
Well, yeah, you know, when I get the opportunity to, he creeps up. Joe, I made feta and tomato soup. It was really nice. Check it out. See, I did see that on your Instagram. See, Phil likes to make himself. He loves a curry, Phil.
I'm making a curry, Phil. I'm going to make curry tonight. I can't wait. I've done that pasta one, but I did change it a bit. I added some different herbs and garlic and more vegetables in it. But yeah, really nice. I really think that's a good recipe. That.
Yeah, guys, thank you very much for watching in the live chat because we've had half an hour of the live Q&A and we've had lots of questions come in. Subscribe to West Ham Unofficial if you want to. The banner hasn't come up tonight. Let me just have a look. We're on 1,234 subscribers. So please subscribe if you're new. Hit the like button. Joe, thank you very much for coming on tonight. It's been absolutely fantastic. From me and Joe, goodbye.
Come on, you Lions.
Come on, you Lions.